Thank you very much, everyone. Welcome to the January 3rd, February 3rd meeting of the Salary Review Commission. Thank you all for coming. Really appreciate it. Brandon is not going to be able to make it. He sent me an email. A family issue has come up, so he'll not be with us tonight. With that said, Tricia, would you please call the roll?
I will. I promise not to call my dog as well. He likes to be on camera. So, Chairman Paul Rankin,
Here.
Sienna Scott,
Here.
Faye Curry,
Here as well.
Barbara Chenal,
Present.
and Stu Cohen.
But what's the doggie's name?
His name is Bordeaux, named after Bordeaux Mountain on St. John in the Virgin Islands, and I call him Bordy. And he got very used to being on camera during COVID. And so when I try to do board meetings, it's almost unavoidable to have him in the frame. So he'll settle down.
Is he going to be voting, or how are we going to handle him?
Yeah,
He'll probably be he'll be abstaining because he'll get that stoic look, and that's all you're going to get out of him.
Understood. All right.
And then absent is Brandon Wright, as you mentioned.
Yeah. All right. I'll make sure I got that. Well, this is our second to last meeting, everybody, as you know. So actually, before we sort of get rolling, I always forget that we do have a requirement to ask if there is anyone from the public on the call and who wishes to make a statement to the commission. Is there anybody here? Bordeaux, anything at all? No.
He doesn't have thumbs, so he can't use his cell phone.
He was staring right at the camera. It was great. Well trained. All right. Let's be it noted that there is no public comment this evening. So this is our second to last meeting. And of course, that means we have to sort of run through all of this, the work that we have and decisions that we've made up to this point, and decide, what else ought to be included, and then talk a little bit about how we're going to put together a report. We're meeting again tomorrow. Are we meeting tomorrow morning?
8:30.
So 8:30 tomorrow morning, and that will be our last meeting. So we want to try and wrap up what we can today. Obviously, what we can't get to today, we will deal with tomorrow morning, and then we'll also talk a little bit about the report. So just on that note, Tricia, is our report literally due? That is written and submitted by close of business on the 4th?
Yes, according to the resolution, which translates the code language into actual date.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
it doesn't mean it needs to be presented by then. It means that it just needs to.
But it does have to be submitted to them. Okay. So I've just so you all know, I've gone ahead and sort of started to write something up, but it's far from anything at this point in time. But I think after we get done tonight, we should have most everything. I hope we have just about everything taken care of, and then we can begin to put pen to paper. And that's, of course, where everybody makes sure that what is said is what we mean, and so forth. So one other point that I just wanted to let you all know, I think I sent you an email, I copied you on an email that I sent over to Tricia and asked her to contact Mike Biles, the county attorney, just to make sure that in his view, we were supposed to be dealing with the city manager's salary. And honestly, I'm not 100% sure I understood what he had to say in the reply. It wasn't all that clear to me. But the bottom line is, I think that we're going to take his comments as a positive, that we should, in fact, include recommendations with respect to the city manager's salary and just move forward from there. And then I think we've also talked about the idea that we may want to recommend that in the future that the city manager not be included in the salary review commission's purview.
Yeah, so when I went to the Office of Law, I talked to one of the attorneys because Mr. Lyles wasn't available to speak with at the time. And you can make a recommendation now. You don't have to wait for the next group to do so. You already have the authority to make whatever recommendations you feel are appropriate, which can also include how to handle the city manager's pay. You can do a, if this, then that, if not that, then this kind of recommendation as well. Because at the bottom line is that the members of the council are the ones that will take the information that you provide in the report and then ask for an ordinance to be drafted that allows them to implement your recommendations or something else altogether. But that's your role is to be advisory. Your role is to do the research and evaluation and make recommendations. Their role is to vote in what they take from that into law, into the
Thank
code.
you. Thank you. Faye?
That being said about the city council, are we appearing before next week's city council? Because I understand usually in prior commissions, the commission goes before the city council to answer questions. So is it going to be just that quick that on the 10th, whenever, the 10th, we got
So probably not. Usually
Good.
the agendas are set by Wednesday of the day before. So unless they very quickly, take your report and ask for it to go on the docket, that's something that's going to be advisory. So my recommendation is that when your report is done, you can use me to be the distributor to the members of the council, say, here's the report, it's been prepared on time. Please advise of next steps. I'll make sure that I've consulted with the city attorney or the city clerk about the timing in terms of putting it on the docket. I think the idea was to get it done. My thinking is that logistically, it was to get it done ahead of and decided on and probably enactment of ordinance before the budget process begins, because the mayor's budget needs to be submitted in April. That's what we want to be ahead of.
Okay, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, Faye, or any other comments or follow-ups to Faye's question?
I will tell you, Paul, I had to look through some of the code stuff too and was pretty confused about the city manager issue. So thank you for trying to get clarification. And before we dig into it, would you like a motion to approve minutes?
Thank you very, very much. I appreciate that. So yes, we actually have two sets of minutes to approve. So we have the 28th, January 28th, and we also have January 31. So Stu? So I think Stuart is to approve. Yeah.
I move to approve both of those, the 28th and the 31st of January as prepared. And thank you all for having prepared them so diligently.
You are welcome. Do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Sienna. And all those in favor, raise your hand on the screen. All those opposed, say nay. There being none, the minutes for the January 28th and 31st are unanimously approved. Thank you very much, Stuart, and everyone else. All right. So, my thinking is, and I welcome anyone to suggest otherwise, sort of how we handle this going forward. My thinking is to kind of go back through what we talked about last time, maybe in the order we talked about it, since it's that way in the minutes, just to make it easy. And then to either reaffirm our position or change our position going forward and get that into final form. Does that sound like a winner, everybody? Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So last time, then, I'm working off of is the January 31st minutes, because that's where we really made a lot of our decisions. On the second page there, we had agreed in principle. We were talking in this case about the city manager's compensation. We had 3 bullet points that we took in principle, but we did not finalize them at that point in time. And our positions were as follows: that the city manager's annual direct compensation be in the range of $250,000 to $294,000 with the potential for annual pay scale adjustments. And before we're done, I just want you, Tricia, to make sure that that's the proper phrasing, the pay scale adjustment thing. The second bullet that we did was the city manager's annual direct compensation should be higher than that of his or her direct reports. And the final point that we made was that the commission would, somewhere in its final report, urge the city council to exclude from the purview of future salary review commission's consideration of the city manager's compensation. I'd open the floor to comments.
I'm happy with it.
I am also, I think it covers what we agreed to.
I as
Nothing
well.
additional from me.
You're good, Barbara?
Yes, I'm good.
Good with that?
Yes.
May I encourage something?
Absolutely.
Yeah, the annual pay scale adjustments, what do you envision that meaning? Do you mean that to be annual pay scale adjustments such that the city manager's pay is X% above those direct reports?
Well, I'll tell you what I was going for, which probably turns out might be wrong. Hang on one second, please. Let me just write this down. I was thinking that there would be potential for the mayor to adjust the salary of the city manager at any point during city manager's tenure.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my intent with those words, rightly or wrongly.
In the form of an ordinance, in the form of,
No, I have no clue.
okay. Okay.
That's what the confusion was in terms of the different languages, the different statements and different ordinances. It's just.
Yeah, I appreciate that the legal guidance that we got from City Attorney Lyles only shows that there's appear to be confusion or difference. I don't know if that's confusion necessarily, but difference between what a council compensation commission is and what a salary review commission is. And so I wrote back to him, and I will track that down because we are meeting tomorrow and it may be an important clarification. I wrote back to him, is he saying that the salary review commission doesn't have purview over the city manager's pay, that that's already there? Because that's a decision, and the way he put it was that the executive pay plan cannot include the city manager. The consultant should recommend that the city manager be included in the pay plan or that it be entirely a mayor negotiated and ratified by the council. I don't think you're the consultant in this regard that he's referring to. He's referring to the classification and compensation consultant, which has been the recommendation of the consultant. So it's not really clear to me completely how you get out of this loop unless somebody affirmatively, legally accepts that the consultant is the one that's making the recommendation and that the mayor has discretion in what to pay the city manager within the range recommended.
I agree. It's kind of messy, and I think he's I agree with you, Tricia, that when he used the word consultant, he was not thinking about us.
Right.
But that just makes it more confusing. But back to that, your point though, and this is really a point for consideration by the entire commission, and that is, do you guys want, excuse me for using the term guys, I apologize. Do you all wish for to set a city, or recommend the setting of a city manager's pay that's going to be stable for 4 years? Or do you want to allow the mayor to make adjustments in that during that 4-year period?
I would like, as long as they do not remove the city manager from the current setup, which is salary recommended by our commission and approved by the council, that there indeed be some part of our recommendation include there be some mechanism to provide annual increases. But I don't know what that annual, I don't know how to categorize anymore. You know, Paul, you seem stumped as well in terms of how do we categorize what those annual increase is. How do we define it?
So can I ask a question to add to that? So what has more weight, our recommendation or the consultant's recommendations? Where are they parallel? Can they be? I just thought of that. So
In my opinion, we have to make a recommendation, and our recommendation, the city council needs to approve the final salary, but cannot go any higher than what we recommend.
okay,
And
that I know.
what the consultant is recommending cannot, as to the city manager, could not go into effect until they pass an ordinance basically adopting that the city manager is no longer subject to this commission, but
Right.
the whatever they're going to call the new executive compensation scheme.
Okay.
Does that sound right, Trish?
Yeah, so they already have an ordinance before them for vote.
Oh,
And the consultant, and I shared that with you, the consultant's recommendation was inclusive of study and evaluation of the city manager's pay. And their recommendation was that the city manager be on the executive pay plan. That's the way you make sure that the city manager is paid above the direct reports.
So
Because
we can put the
doing
language in
relative,
there.
pardon me, Faye?
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
So that's okay. I mean, you probably had a good point. But the idea here is that what's happened over time is that the city manager's pay has not kept pace with
Right.
changes to the executive pay plan and has not been able to keep the city manager's pay above all of the direct reports.
So your original question denoted, should we write in there that it be a certain percentage over the direct reports? So maybe we could put the language at that, and we defer to additional compensation be evaluated based on, I guess that's too vague. But I don't
Well,
want to put a percentage. I'm not comfortable saying that the city manager should be X percentage over, because that'll be written in stone, correct? So
yeah, and there may be other considerations we don't know that would influence
Right.
that. But again, in terms of an executive pay structure, it is very, very typical to have the highest executive leadership that's non-elected, which is your chief administrative officer, your city manager, your city administrator, whatever the term is for that individual. They tend to be paid above their highest
of course,
paid member. And
I know I
so
went down another path, but did it address Stu's question? I'm sorry, Stu.
well, my question is really, Tricia, you said that there is legislation that has been introduced. Has it been through first reader? Where is it in the process?
it's in committee. So
Okay.
it's been to finance, it's been to rules. I'm not sure where else it's been. I think
So it's very possible before they even get around to our recommendations, they may have already passed legislation removing the city manager from our purview.
so it is an open question that's come up in committee, to be honest with you, as to whether the city manager's pay, which is identified currently as an E6, going, I think I gave you the range. It was
Yeah.
to 294. I think your 250 is a little above what they start at, but they have that and they're reviewing that. And what I'm hearing in reaction to that, the legislation is that they feel that is appropriate. And I think some of your interviews with members of council have given you that feedback as well. Alderman Huntley is the chair of the Finance Committee. So you're talking about a Finance Committee response when you're getting his impression about how the city manager's pay should be set. I think that I'm not trying to assess votes on this, but I do
Mhm.
think some of the feedback is they are looking at the city manager's pay relative to the other executive leadership and feel that's the context in which it
Thank
makes
you.
sense. Yeah.
I have a thought.
That's
But go ahead, Stu.
well, just to finish that up. That refreshes my memory of having a conversation with Harry Huntley.
Yeah.
That I don't think the issue is the city manager compensation. I think the issue is the salary range for the directors.
Yeah.
So that's what may be holding up passing the legislation, because it's all part and parcel of one package, one piece of legislation.
Yeah, and for them to be fair, we are going from a step system, which nobody has for executive leadership, to an open range. And so their questions are more on the financial side, like, okay, you've made this open range. Does that mean everybody moves to the top of this range? So there are internal administrative questions we need to be responsive to and have been responsive to during the course of these conversations. But
I have a thought that just to sort of wiggle out of this a little bit, because we're in betwixt, a rock and a hard place kind of on it. And what we could do, so I think in principle we all agree that the pay that we suggested, 250 to 294, is good. And I think we all agree that the city manager's direct compensation should always be higher than that of his or her direct reports. I see heads nodding. So if we just sort of compressed those two thoughts together in our final recommendation, we could say something like the commission recommends the city manager's annual direct compensation be in the range of 250 to 294, with assurance that the city manager's annual direct compensation should always be higher than that of his or her direct reports. And then leave it up to the council to figure out how to do that.
Right. I think you're right, Paul, because if they don't change the structure, they then have to adopt, they have to make a salary determination based on our recommendation. And doing that allows them to craft legislation to adopt our recommendation in such a way that can provide for annual adjustments as well, if that's what they want to do.
Yeah, because it'll never be, if a city director or something like that salary pops up, let's just say the city manager's at 250 and a city director gets 252. It'll take time. It won't even necessarily be in the same year. So all you want to do is make sure that the council has the authority, or figures out how to have the authority to ensure that they can raise that city manager's pay. We're trying to make it easy for them.
yeah, you would need an enabling language in order for us to carry it out administratively.
Yeah, and let the lawyers figure that one out, or the council members. So let me go back and just suggest or rephrase what I just said then. So what we would do is take a look at our first two bullet points and merge them essentially. So our recommendation could read, if someone makes a motion to the effect that the commission recommends that the Annapolis city manager's and should be an S in there. Annual direct compensation be in the range of 250 to 294,000. Further, we suggest that the city manager's annual direct compensation always be higher than that of his or her direct reports.
And then leave it to them.
Yeah, and then we don't have to worry about potential annual pay scale adjustments or anything like that. We just say, here's your pay scale. Make sure that the city manager is always higher than, to the extent practicable is always higher than his or her direct reports. What do you all think of that?
So moved.
I like it. I think it'll work.
Okay.
I second.
I'm sorry, who seconded?
I
Okay.
did.
They,
Sue, Faye. All right, so the motion will read, and I apologize for doing it the third time. The commission recommends that the Annapolis City Manager's annual direct compensation be in the range of $250,000 to $294,000, period. Further, the commission recommends the city manager's annual direct compensation should be, to the extent practicable, always higher than that of his or her direct reports. Any discussion about that? Thank you. All those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, unanimous. Okay, that's wonderful. And then, so that takes us, do you have that written down, Tricia, by any chance? If not, I'm just gonna, if you all don't mind, I'm gonna take a half a second here just to write that.
Yeah.
No, we appreciate what you've done thus far. Thank you. Thank you.
My pleasure. It is. Okay.
So I just want to let you know that I got an email response from, or we all did, from City Attorney Lyles, and he said he's in the office. We can call him. I can call him regarding those questions in the charter, in the code, in the resolution. So if you want to, we can. If not, I can communicate with him, and it sounds like you have a direction already. So
Yeah, I'm happy. Does anyone, it's up to the commissioners, however.
Well, how about this? How about, can you send them the language we just approved and ask, does that create any legal problem?
And just tell them it's a draft.
And if he sees a legal issue with it, then we will tinker some more. Does that sound fair?
that sounds fair.
Okay, that sounds good. And while she is doing that, let's get to the third bullet point. Do we also agree as a commission that, excuse me, that we will include somewhere in our report that we urge the city council to exclude from the purview of the future salary review commission's consideration of the city manager's compensation?
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Can I have a motion to that effect?
Well, before that,
Sure,
would it
go ahead, Sue.
be useful to say something, give some explanation or some reason for that?
Yes. But I don't know what that reason is.
Well, based on, how about having reviewed the compensation expert report, we believe it's inappropriate for this commission to be recommending a future salary for the city manager.
Or something along based on the information noted in that report. We're doing, because we haven't reviewed the whole report. I'm going to speak for me.
Yeah,
So
no,
based on information noted in said report, this commission recommends da 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 da. Is my 10-cent opinion.
no, that's
I
right.
get an A in English.
Well, what we're doing is recommending that we that the city do what the
Consultant.
experts are suggesting. And I keep forgetting the name of that. The
It's the
people who are making that.
The classification and compensation study. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So
Citywide
what we're
classification.
recommending is, as far as the city manager goes, that we take the recommendation of the consultant.
And exclude, therefore, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so
Could I throw out one other possible consideration we should include in there? And that would be that as the city attorney is not an elected official.
the city manager, do you mean, or the city attorney?
Well, whatever I said, I meant city manager. Yeah.
Good point. Good point. I think that's why we started down that path. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And is appointed by the mayor. But I think that's just, yeah.
That's good. Yeah. Not confirmed by the council?
It is. That person is.
Yeah. Okay, so we can say as the position is appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the city council, not subject to election by the residents.
Keep talking.
I guess it should be for the following reasons. One is that what I've just said, and two is the compensation and whatever that none of us can remember except for Trisha's name of.
Classification and compensation, citywide classification and compensation study.
All right, so I'm
going forward, just a point of information. Going forward, what the city would do is do market analysis at intervals to make sure that we're staying on track relative to the market. So that would include benchmark surveys, collection of salary information from other jurisdictions, evaluation of that before making any recommendations for pay scale changes. But what the consultants were trying to do was show that city manager's compensation, what city manager's compensation was relative to executive leadership.
okay. All right, so I'm going to try and put this in some order here, merging all of those comments. So a motion would be something like, for the following reasons, including information provided to the commission regarding the citywide compensation, classification and compensation study. Well, I'm messing this up now.
That's good. You're doing great.
We recommend that the city manager no longer be included within the purview of the Salary Review Commission. And those reasons include the fact that we'll rephrase this a little bit. The city manager is appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the council. And the city manager is not an elected official. Something along those lines. Is that, Barbara?
I think that covers it.
Can we just do it? The commission recommends that the city manager be removed from the purview of future salary review commissions for the following reasons. One, the classification and whatever
Compensation study.
compensation study which we have reviewed as to the city manager position. Indicates that the position should be part of an executive compensation schedule. We can clean that up. 2, city manager is appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the city council, and therefore not subject to the to election by the residents. Or I don't think we need that. Just is appointed by the mayor and approved.
Maybe that's it.
subject to the
And
election process.
maybe 3, that it is more appropriate as the appointing official that the mayor set a salary.
Maybe we could, am I on mute? No.
We can do anything we want. Please.
We could actually say, because the mayor is required, does set the salary in accordance with the, what do you call it? The,
Whatever that legislate ordinance.
yeah, or the, I'm just looking here. The charter. The charter says he does.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go back. Stu, I think, made it way better. So the commission recommends that the city manager be reviewed from the purview of future salary review for commissions for the following reasons. 1, and we'll reference the study, which we have review, recommends that the city manager be part of the executive compensation. What's the proper word, Tricia?
It's got executive pay plan.
The exec pay plan. Okay. And 2, the city manager is appointed by the mayor. And maybe a full stop
No.
there too?
Appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the city council.
And confirmed by the city council.
And not an elected official.
Therefore, his salary should be administered by the mayor and this in conjunction with the city council.
Yeah. I think we've got it all there. So the commission recommends that the city manager be removed from our purview because of 3 reasons. 1, the study, which we'll cite appropriately, which we have reviewed with regard to the city manager, suggests that the city manager be part of the executive pay plan. 2, the city manager is appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the city council. Therefore, the mayor is the appropriate individual to establish the manager's salary.
Sienna said on 2. How about therefore? How about therefore he or she is not an elected official?
So that'll be number 3 then? He or she is
No, that would be part of 2.
okay, is appointed and as such, yeah, is not an elected official. Is not.
And the salary should be determined by the mayor in conjunction with approval from the city council.
We can actually cite the whatever the ordinance is.
Yeah.
Or the
Yeah.
code.
Let me get you the
Pursuant.
ordinance number on that.
Okay. So we'll just say cite ordinance to ensure mayor sets the salary. And then we can add that in the minutes, Tricia.
That sounds good. I'll make sure you have it for that.
Thank you. Okay,
Maybe we have a fourth reason.
Okay,
The commission has spent more time thinking about the city manager salary than we have for the older people or the mayor.
we're sick. We just say at 4, we're sick of it. Take it. So that is the motion. I don't, do
So
I-
moved.
Okay, so moved. Do I have a second?
Second,
Who did that?
Barb.
The second. Thank you, everyone, anyone,
Aye.
everyone in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed? Unanimous. Okay, that's great. It's a lot of work, but it's good. It's important, I think. Great. And I don't think we need to therefore deal with anything further in those 3 bullet points, because I think we've taken it all here and put it into this motion. So does anyone else does anyone have anything else that they would wish to talk about or add to the discussion about the city manager and the city manager's pay for going forward? Okay, that was great. So let's move on to the next group here, which is the mayor, or the next individual in that case. Our recommendation, which was a motion and adopted 4 votes in favor and 2 opposed, was that the city or the commission recommends that the Annapolis mayor be compensated at a rate of $120,000 a year, not including benefits. Does anyone wish to have a conversation about that motion, which has been adopted?
I still would like to see it higher. And, as I pointed out in what I sent out yesterday, we're talking about pennies on the overall $150 million budget. I personally know how much time Gavin Buckley spends serving as mayor, and what it means to his family, and it just seems to me to be a ridiculous salary for a city the size of Annapolis, with the complexity of Annapolis. So that's my 2 cents.
Other comments? Does anyone want to address this motion, or does anyone wish to make another motion to address this issue, or are we satisfied with the motion that was adopted at our previous meeting? I guess, I mean, I take your point, Stuart, I really do. I feel comfortable with 120, with all due respect to our mayors. Anybody else wish to make a comment or a motion? I hear none. Oh, go ahead, whoever.
Stu, I agree with you also on the time spent. I don't think even 160 compensates for the work that they do. However, I think 120 is something that several people have recommended that we've talked to, and that it's something that we can probably get the administration to pass. And that's something that I really think is important. I don't want them to deny us the ability to give this what is it, $18,000,
22.
22,000, sorry, $22,000 more than what they currently are paid. I do think that this is something that can be sold to them to pass, to give this compensation to whoever is the next mayor. You know, the fact that it has not been changed for 12 years makes me feel that it has not been changing the mayor's salary has not been a priority for the other for the council and the mayor, and so I think a smaller amount, the 120, is just an easier sell.
Thanks, Sienna. Are there other comments? Not hearing any further comments on this, I'm going to consider the matter closed, that the commission has, in fact, adopted a motion at its prior meeting to pay that the future mayor be paid $120,000 a year, not including benefits. And I thank you for your efforts on this piece of our work. Okay.
Let me just say,
Go ahead, Stu.
no hard feelings. But I just had to express and I appreciate, what Sienna says is we got to sell it, and I hope we can sell it.
Other comments? Yes, Sienna.
And I was going to add, we could make, since we're making remarks under the city manager, we could make the remarks saying that that we do feel that this salary does not adequately compensate the mayor for all of the duties that he currently performs. Or that's probably not a good way to say it, but we can say that we had discussions on higher values.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just throwing this out in case we want to make a remark about why we came up with this salary.
I'd like to express a view on that. I do not agree with that your comment, Sienna, because not because it's wrong. In fact, it's reflected in the minutes of the last meeting. Mm-hmm. That we looked at 160. I just feel as though that introduces, in a report, that introduces a degree of uncertainty, mm-hmm. That it might be problematic in our goal, which is to sell the product, mm-hmm. in this case, the $120,000 recommendation. And I respectfully disagree with mm-hmm. including that in, but mm-hmm. we will do what the commission wishes.
Mm-hmm. How about as an alternative that we did not be in the written report, but when presented in discussion, we make the point that we believe, and that's probably true for the city, for the alder people as well, that we believe that the compensation being recommended is woefully inadequate for the amount of work that we are aware that each of the 8 alder people and 9 and the mayor perform on behalf of all the citizens of Annapolis, all the residents, I should say, of Annapolis.
Comments?
And I agree with Stu. I think that maybe in the presentation, that could be part of the presentation, but does not have to be part of the official report.
By the way,
and to let them know that we did consider many more. I mean, I think that is important. they're not necessarily going to read the minutes of our meetings. So I do think they should know that we did consider other salaries.
I'm good with that. I think it's appropriate. Other comments?
Well,
Barbara?
my only comment is Faye has dropped off.
Has she?
Yes.
Oh, I guess she had to go.
No, she had said, and it might have been before you were on the call, that there was some plumbers doing some work on the adjoining unit, but she didn't indicate that she was not going to be able to be. Do we have a?
Oh, there she
She's
is.
coming.
She's coming
She's
back.
back.
Plumbers are done. Barbara, did you have a
Wasn't a
comment?
plumber issue. I was frozen for a while. I've been trying to get back in ever since.
We
And I
missed
joined
you.
by phone and I joined, but it didn't recognize me because I couldn't see myself. So I do apologize. And when I joined, Sienna was discussing something. And so
I'll give you a quick review.
You guys couldn't see me, so thank you.
Uh,
Did I
it-
miss anything?
Sienna? Yeah, Sienna, with your permission, can I give her a quick overview and you pop in if I say it wrong?
Please, please.
So we were discussing the possibility of including in the report a statement that a written statement that we had considered a higher salary. In fact, we had considered $160,000 for the mayor. I respectfully objected to that in our written report because I felt like it would dilute what we're trying to do, which is sell what we've agreed to, the $120,000. And then Sienna suggested that perhaps, and Stu agreed with this, that perhaps we could include in discussion of the report, not in the written format, but in the discussion of the report, that we in fact recognize the work that the mayor does, the importance of that work, the difficulty of it, and the burdens of it, and that we did consider other higher salary levels.
All right, thank you so very much. I'm sorry. I don't know why. It's this time of day. I guess I froze for a while.
Almost dinner time. Is that so? Is everybody good with that decision that we will not include in the written report that higher salary number, but we will in reference to it, but we will include that in our discussion?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and if we go before the council, we can always answer questions like that. If nobody wants to put it out there at that point, Sienna, because they're gonna ask if they ask to have us appear before them, they usually ask all kinds of questions, so that that point can be brought up if need be, because they ask us individually. Correct, Tricia? That's what they used to do. If anybody from the commission cared to share.
Yeah.
Why, da 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 da.
Yeah, so generally it's reports from boards and commissions in the beginning of a meeting. You don't have to sit through all the legislative actions.
Right.
And so it would be whoever would end up going as representation from the commission. In the past, I think we've had 3 commissioners, so it's generally been all 3 that have gone.
I hope everybody comes. It'll
Yeah.
be good. We'll all be up arguing. No, that's not what we said.
And then we'll turn to the nearest pub.
Exactly.
So before I forget to tell you, the executive pay, it's the FY 2025 changes to executive pay ranges. It's resolution 53-24. So that you wanted something for reference there, Paul, on
Yeah,
on the
okay.
executive pay.
R 5324.
Yeah.
Super. That's the pay resolution. All right. Okay, thank you. And let's move on to our the alderperson's compensation discussion that we had last time. If you will recall, we talked about potential or several different potential pay scales for alderpersons. We ended up with a motion as follows. The commission recommends that the Annapolis City alderperson's compensation be increased to $32,000 a year with an annual increase of $2,000 per year. That was adopted unanimously. Now, Tricia, when we were talking about the minutes via email, asked me to clarify was, in fact, was that annual increase of $2,000 a year included in there? And I thought it was. Obviously, I wouldn't have included it.
No,
But I
actually, what I was trying to clarify, Paul, is that you started 32,000 for the first year,
right.
an additional 2 at the second year, again at the third year, and finally at the fourth year. I think making sure you're clear about you're starting
I
at
see.
32, and then when you get through another year, so again, the beginning of the second year, they'd be entitled to additional 2,000 and forward till you get to the end. So it looks, so the council knows, okay, that's 6,000 total in addition to the 32,000. So they understand that year 2 is 34, year 3 is 36, year 4 is 38.
Yeah,
So you can either express it as an additional 2 or just tell them what
No,
the rate is.
I think Trish has a very good point. I think we need to express it specifically that at the end of the first year, there would be a $2,000 increase. At the end of the second year, there would be a $2,000 increase. At the end of the third year, there will be a $2,000 increase, because the way it's written now may infer that at the fourth year and the fifth year and the sixth year, there's another 2,000, even though that's not our intention.
Yeah.
It may not be legal or anything, but
Well, and sometimes you see like in the county, I've seen where they're very clear, like on the first Monday of December, it's this rate. And say the year, say the actual year. And then so on, all the way through till you get through all 4 years.
yeah. I think if we just make it clear that at the end of at the beginning of the second year, at the beginning of the third year, and then the specific language will be in the resolution or the ordinance that they pass, the legislation. They can figure that out.
Yeah.
I agree. Does anyone disagree with that intent?
No.
Okay.
No.
So if we don't, I'm still kind of struggling in my head. Maybe somebody could help how we phrase it. So the alderpersons, we agree the alderperson's salary shall be set in year 1 at $32,000. Then how do we, Stu, how do we phrase that so that it's clear?
32,000 semicolon. At the end of the first year, it will increase by 2,000 semicolon. At the end of the second year, it will increase by 2,000. I don't know if that's right. Now
Why don't we put the dates in there? That might be, say,
well, the dates are based on when they get sworn in. So
which
This
is December, right? So can we
It's
say
like-
December of 2026? The
First
salary will,
Monday, First
Pardon?
Monday. It's the first Monday of December for the swearing
But
in.
in a prior commission, we already recommended it. So the language can read, the
Yeah,
salary of aldermen or women should be increased as follows in year 1. This is the 2021 commission wrote this.
good. Yeah.
Of the term, it should be increased by the percentage of the consumer CPI as calculated for 12-month average annual for the Baltimore, Washington region. In year 2, the salary would increase by 1,000 and then increase by the CPI. And then in year 3, and it's just continued
Oh,
on.
it's just, so
You can mirror what was in 2021 commission, but it was $1,000 then. If you want, so you don't even have to reinvent the wheel.
Yes, you're
You
right.
look at that 2021 compensation Tricia sent us under
Yeah.
it was under aldermen and all the women, men and women.
So all we have, so I'm looking at it now too. So all you said, so it was really super simple. So we just say in year. So in this case, it's the alderperson's annual salary shall be increased to $32,000 for the period. in year two. And then increased by 2,000, and in year three, increased by 2,000. In
Yeah,
year,
And it
Well-
adds the CPI. Yep, it's all, that verbiage is right there. And that
Okay.
went through legal and everything. I don't know how the ordinance was written. I don't have that in front of me, but that was a part of our recommendation language.
are we recommending CPI or not?
And the other thing is also, while you're asking that
Yeah.
question, are we recommending the continuing allowance of education, training, and,
yeah. Well,
yep, so that verbiage may work, but we increased it back then, that eventually got it to 2,000, so.
So,
We
Oh,
decided it was
oh,
no
I have the-
CPI.
Look, I was going to throw this out when we start to talk about the draft. Yesterday I reread the 21 report, and I think we could just take the 21 report and insert our stuff pretty much into the 20. I don't think we got to reinvent the wheel. That's what Faye's saying about this in terms of aldermen. I think we can just take that report and just update that report by what our recommendations are very easily. I was like you, sitting down to try to do some drafting, and I read the report and I just said, this is pretty much what we need. So that resolution for the alderman is the language, as Faye's saying, the language used in 21 should be the language we use in 25.
I think that will be easier to amend or to adjust by ordinance. And also that is the language, Faye, that is in the it's 01121, which is the enacting ordinance. I
Oh,
believe
okay.
I sent that to you all, but I can resend it to you.
Yeah,
So
we
you
don't
can
need the
see-
ordinance. We just need to write as part of our recommendation.
Yeah.
It was actually just a 2-page document, as you saw.
Yeah.
So that we can increase that and then
Yeah.
go forward. If that helps you, Paul, or whatever you prefer.
it does, but we overstepped ourselves slightly here, which we can fix quite easily. So what we have done as a commission to this point is to establish the salary at 32,000. Is that right? Yeah, establish the salary at $32,000, and then put that step increase in there, 2,000 per year, and we'll fix it, per that report, because I think it's so simple. It's great. What we have not done is include in that motion the CPI increase. So I'll open that up for discussion to the commission at this point.
I thought we agreed that there was no CPI.
That's correct. We did.
Okay,
We just assumed that a $2,000 increase was more than sufficient in
Right.
that
Okay.
regard.
okay.
But that is not set in stone today. So what does everyone think?
Yeah, I think we voted not to. I think there
Yeah.
was a split opinion. My view always is give them more, but I think the 2,000 is really a good way to do it.
And we only need to address the education and training. It could stay the same at 2,000 or not. That's the only part that I don't recall if we discussed, so
We
help
did,
me if I
we
didn't discuss
Oh.
that.
we did not discuss that, Fred, but we're going to get to that in a minute.
Oh, cool, thank you.
We
Um,
did discuss the cell phone.
We did.
Yes.
Let's
Yes.
go back to the point we're talking about now, though. So the motion that we're going to I guess we're gonna have to make another motion today, which is gonna read very simply, exactly like the motion that was made by the 2021 commission, which is the salary of the aldermen and alderwomen should be increased as follows. In year one of the term, it should be increased to $32,000 in year two, an additional 2,000 year, et cetera.
Probably, what we probably should do? In year two, it should be 34,000. In year three, it should be 36,000. In year four, it should be 38,000.
Yeah, so that's great. So we'll do 32 in year one, year two, 34, year three, year 3 will be 36, and year 4 will be 38. Is that correct, everyone?
Yes.
Should we put in lieu of CPI compensation? So that there's no discrepancy that we didn't examine that? I don't know legally verbiage how it'll work.
You
We,
might-
we could do that in the oral presentation.
Yes, I think it's perfectly legitimate to just take it out.
Okay.
If we
thank-
don't want it in there,
Mhm.
uh,
I'm just saying, as far as they'll wonder, did we think of the CPI as opposed to that'll tell that we addressed the CPI and we did not want it. That's the only reason why I was wondering. It leaves no room for interpretation. It shows that we don't think CPI is warranted based on the 2000. But I defer to the group. So thank you.
I'll ask, because I sort of like the idea of putting it in the report, but not in the motion. And so I like the idea of putting in the report that the committee did examine the issue of CPI increases, but decided that the $2,000 a year is sufficient. Would that be okay?
Sure.
Okay.
yes.
All right. So put in report, CPI was considered and rejected. Okay, that's great. All right. So now we also then, so we need to formally make the motion. Who would like to make the motion? Stu, are you good with that?
Sure, I'll make a motion to.
Who would like to second that? Okay, good job. Thank you.
Excuse me, I second it.
Mhm.
And we know what the motion is. The motion is exactly what was stated just now in the 2021 review. To alderperson salary will be increased to $33,000 in year 1, 2, in year 2, 34, in year 3, 36, in year 4, $38,000. And we will also, this is not part of the motion, we'll also put in the report that we consider CPI. All those in favor of that motion, please raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It passes unanimously. Thank you. So moving on, we also talked, Ms. Curry made a motion as follows, which is that each alderperson shall be provided with a cell phone to be used exclusively for city business activities, and the cost of that phone and related expenses be paid by the city. Is there any discussion of that? Otherwise, it just sticks.
For discussion, I had a conversation with Gavin yesterday. He said, I thought they had phones. So he was shocked that they didn't have cell phones provided.
All right, we'll leave that motion as written, and it's already been approved, so we don't have to make any adjustments to that. So are there other issues related to compensation or perks for alderpersons that this group would like to address? Someone had mentioned earlier. Oh, go ahead, Stu.
I thought Trish, we had asked them to check with the city attorney about or figure out what that $2,000 can cover, whether it can cover constituent meetings and stuff. Did we get any information on that?
Well, what I found out is that it has to be, if it's just given as an expense, the intent is not to ask for receipts and what you're actually using it for. The intent is to provide it to cover those things. So it's a discretionary fund. It may be subject to taxes, though, as considered as like an additional. So they would have to kind of break it down and itemize it for their tax purposes, but we would not get into that point.
Oh, thank you. That's helpful.
So the issue that Stu raised is that the current alderpersons receive $2,000. Is that correct, Tricia? Yeah. $2,000 per year in what they refer to as a discretionary fund. Does anyone wish to recommend a change to that?
I recommend that we increase it to 3,000.
All right, Barbara is recommending a change to increase it to 3,000. Okay, with the same limitations and so forth as is applied to it now.
Absolutely, yes.
Oh, thank you. Do you want to make a motion to that effect, Barbara?
Sure. I'll
Okay,
make a
so
motion.
Barbara has moved that the discretionary fund, is that proper, Tricia? Discretion, alderperson's discretionary fund?
It's whatever it's in the 21.
It's called an annual allowance. It's called an annual allowance to be used exclusively for expenses related to the performance of usual and customary constituent services. Such expenses may include supplies for town halls and constituent outreach, education, and training.
All
And
right, so
that means it can include that. It's not exclusive to that, but can include that.
all right, so Ms. Chenault has made a motion to increase the alderperson's annual allowance from its current $2,000 to $3,000 annually. Do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second it so we can discuss.
All right, Stu has seconded. Discussion. Go ahead.
I was gonna throw in 2,400, but I'm happy with 3,000 too. What do other people feel?
I have a question. Does it include the iPad that we didn't reference, or is that assumed that they'll continue that, and the phone, or in lieu of? Are we going to speak on that? That might be separate, but 3,000 is acceptable. But I would love to know if the iPad will continue and the cell phone. Thank you.
The iPad is already provided. That's a city issued piece of.
Right. I know they currently
Yeah.
get that, but I'm asking if we're increase the expense to 3,000, increase their income, and there's no language about the iPad in 2021. But we're adding language about a phone, rather, a cell phone. Do we need to add the language that they continue getting an iPad as well? In addition to this whole compensation, extra, additional allowances. But I'm fine with 3,000, but I just wanted to add that as well.
I
We
think
need to
that
speak on that.
I think if we're silent, so all current benefits that alderpersons received will not change if the commission is silent.
Is that the case? Okay.
It won't be changed by us, that's for sure. So if we're silent on something, nothing theoretically would happen. We have made the addition of providing a cell phone. So that will be part of our recommendation. This motion does not include the cell phone. We could say, just for clarification purposes, in addition to the cell phone, but I don't think we have to. I think we're just talking about a completely separate item here, which is the annual allowance for alderpersons, and that would be increased from 2K to 3K. All other benefits remaining equal, and that's not part of the motion, but.
Right. But I'm asking about it because if they're going to take it away, then that 3,000 will be helping them to continue that if they need to get the iPad. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry. I'm blending it together. Thank you, Stu. What you got?
Go ahead, Stu.
I'm not sure that we need to, but if it would make you feel more comfortable on the cell phone resolution, we could change it to read, in addition to all other current
Electronic devices.
Perks that are provided to the city.
Oh, okay.
All
they get the
perks.
Pip Moyer and all that stuff.
Right.
I like that, but that works. But I'm in favor of the 3,000. So in the discussion, I just wanted to include that conversation. Thank you.
Paul, you're muted.
you're on
Are you
mute.
talking to us?
I am. You couldn't have cared less what I had to say anyway. I think we're talking about two separate things here. So I want to deal with them separately, and then if we feel like we have to merge them, we'll do that. But the I think right now, the motion on the floor is a $2,000 increase in an annual allowance, full stop. I mean, no, increase to $3,000 for the annual allowance, full stop. And Tricia, is that the correct way to refer to this, the annual allowance?
Yes.
Okay, so let's go ahead and adopt that or not. So there's a motion on the floor. It's been seconded by Stu to increase the annual allowance for alder persons from $2,000 to $3,000 annually.
I
Alder-
thought Sia had her hand up to say something. No?
No, okay. All those in favor, raise your hand. Aye. Opposed? Okay, so that motion is adopted unanimously. So that increase will be there. And then what Stu and Faye were talking about is to make sure that we're not giving with one hand and taking away with the other. So we want to assure somehow that all current perks available are provided, and because that doesn't take away from the cell phone either. I think we can just do that by a comment in the report.
Well, Faye, are you comfortable with that, or would you rather it be part of a motion?
I'm very comfortable with that. If we say that all current perks remain and then add the cell phone, is that what you're looking to do?
Yeah, we've already done that.
Perfect. That's already in the other. I'm clear. I'm good with that. Thank you for that clarification, though.
Is everybody else comfortable with that approach? We can change it.
Oh, but I'm the only one that. No, I'm sorry. I'm punchy. I get up at 5 a.m.
I hear you.
I'm starting to fade.
Is everybody else comfortable that we'll just make a note in the report that are these two items, the cell phone and the additional increase, are in addition to all currently provided perks?
Yes.
Okay.
Great.
These are in addition to. Okay. So I'm at the end of the items that we were supposed to discuss. I feel like we have pretty much completed our mission here. Do you all agree with that, or are there other things that we should be talking about? We'll talk about the developing report in just a minute, but are there other items of substance that this commission should consider before we move on to the more general business of the report?
Was everyone okay with the tuition reimbursement for training? Are we all? I don't remember that.
That was
If we
part of the
discuss it.
3,000.
Tricia, is that part of the annual allowance?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the language includes such expenses may include blah, 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 outreach, constituent outreach, education, and training. So
Okay. I thought they were
education and
separate.
training is included as appropriate use of the money.
My apologies. I thought they were separate.
No problem. We're good. So are there then any other substantive items related to compensation and salary issues for the mayor, city manager, or alder persons that this commission should consider? How about that? Okay. So now we've got to stick this into a report form and submit it by close of business tomorrow. Okay, how are we gonna do this? I can we're supposed to meet tomorrow morning, right? At 8:30. I feel I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do much drafting.
As I said, I think we can just cut and paste from last 4-year-old report.
Yeah. So let's do this then, because I've got the notes and everything. And what I'll do is pretty much steal. I've got some preliminary stuff written. I'll pretty much steal the format of the old report, put in our recommendations in as clear a form as I possibly can. And then we'll have that, I'll have that to you at 8:30 sharp tomorrow morning. And we'll just go through that report and cut it up and put it back together again. Does that sound good?
Let me ask a question. That does sound good, but is it possible with this group, we push it back to give you a little more time than 8:30 in the morning? Maybe, I don't know. And then you can have the people change the time. I just feel that it is like, it's right now 6 something at night. Yes, it's cut and paste. But do you want us to give you a little more time later in the morning to meet? I don't know, because we're gonna have to review it before
Yeah.
you draft it. I am flexible moving it back.
I think the problem is Trish is gonna tell us we've announced the meeting.
Oh, yes, I forgot. Thank you, disregard.
Yeah, it is a public meeting. That's the challenge.
Yeah.
Disregard.
It'll get done. Okay, we'll just do it and we'll have some fun with it. I think it's going to be fine. I don't think it's going to be that problematic.
Oh, good. Okay, thank you.
Who needs
Thank you for
sleep?
doing the line
Who
share
needs
of
sleep?
this.
All right,
Hey,
Miles to go before you sleep.
there you go.
Paul,
Okay, yes, sir.
feel free to just call us.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Will do. In the meantime, are there other comments of any kind related to commission work that anyone would wish to make at this point?
Yeah, I propose that the chair be given a raise.
I
I
propose
propose
that
the committee takes the chair out to dinner.
somebody proposed that the chair be given a glass of wine, and I will second it.
Or, you know,
Well, thank you all. Okay, so if there's no other business, then I'll take a motion to adjourn at 6:24.
so
Motion
moved.
to adjourn.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?